It was a quiet evening at a roadside diner, the kind of place that smelled of fresh coffee and engine oil. The neon sign flickered lazily against the darkening sky, humming like a tired old tune. A few locals sat in their usual booths murmuring about nothing important, the weather, the crops, or the latest town gossip. The radio played soft country music, and the waitress, Emily, moved from table to table with a polite smile that never quite reached her eyes. She was young, maybe 24, and always wore long sleeves no matter how hot the day got. Her coworkers whispered that she was shy, maybe just modest, but those who looked closely could see the faint outline of old bruises under the fabric of her shirt. No one asked questions. In small towns, people often looked away from what they didn't want to see. That evening, the peace was broken by the distant rumble of engines. Heavy, deep, and synchronized, the unmistakable sound of motorcycles rolling down the highway. Heads turned toward the windows. Some regulars muttered under their breath. The diner's owner, old Mr. Jenkins, sighed. "Here they come again," he said, adjusting his glasses. Within minutes, half a dozen bikes pulled up outside, chrome gleaming under the flickering lights. The door swung open, and in walked a group of men clad in leather jackets with patches that read "Iron Serpents." They were the kind of men you didn't want to cross, tattooed, scarred, and carrying the scent of gasoline and danger. At their center was the leader, a broad-shouldered man named Cole Maddox. His reputation stretched far beyond the town limits. People whispered that he'd spent time in prison, that he'd once taken down a rival gang single-handedly. Others said he had a temper that could turn deadly in seconds. But that night, as Cole sat at the corner booth, something about him seemed different. His steel-blue eyes scanned the room, not in hostility, but in quiet observation. When Emily approached their table, tray trembling slightly in her hands, he noticed it immediately, the bruises. They weren't fresh, but they were there, faint shadows along her wrists and beneath her collar. Her smile flickered like the neon sign outside, forced and hollow. "What'll it be?" she asked softly. Cole's men ordered their meals, loud and rowdy, teasing her about her name tag, about her shaky hands. But Cole said nothing. He just watched. When Emily turned to leave, her sleeve slipped slightly, revealing more of the bruising. His jaw tightened. He'd seen marks like that before, on his mother. Years ago, before the gang, before the tattoos, Cole had been a scared kid watching his father beat the life out of the woman who'd given him everything. He remembered the sound, the begging, the crying, the silence that followed. That night had shaped him into what he became. He'd vowed never to be like that man. Never. As the night went on, the gang ate and laughed. Emily refilled their coffees, her voice polite, her eyes distant. When her shift ended, she disappeared into the back room, and Cole excused himself, saying he needed some air. He found her behind the diner, near the dumpsters, smoking a cheap cigarette with shaking hands. The cold wind tugged at her hair. She didn't notice him at first. When she did, she froze, dropping the cigarette. I'm sorry, sir. The kitchen's closed," he shook his head. "I'm not here for food." Her eyes darted nervously, searching for an escape. "Then what do you want?" Cole hesitated. He didn't know how to start. He wasn't good with gentle words. He'd lived a life where softness was weakness. But something about this girl and her quiet pain cut through him like a blade. "I saw your arm," he said finally. "Who did that to you?" Her face went pale. She took a step back. "It's nothing. I fell," he frowned. "That's a lie I've heard before." "Please," she whispered, voice breaking. "Just leave it alone. He wanted to, he really did." It wasn't his business. He was just passing through, a man with his own demons to fight. But he couldn't shake the memory of his mother's eyes, the same fear, the same hollow resignation. He pulled out a card from his jacket and handed it to her. "If you ever need help, call this number. Doesn't matter when. Someone will come." She looked at the card, confused. "Who are you?" "Just someone who's seen too much." He turned and walked away, but something told him the story wasn't over. 2 nights later, his phone rang. It was well past midnight. A trembling voice whispered, "It's me, Emily. I need help." Within an hour, the roar of motorcycles filled the night again. Cole and 3 of his men rode toward the diner, following her directions to a small rundown trailer park on the edge of town. When they arrived, the air was thick with tension. They could hear shouting from inside a trailer. A man's voice was slurred, angry. A woman crying. Cole didn't hesitate. He kicked the door open. Inside, Emily's boyfriend, a heavy-set man reeking of alcohol, was standing over her, belt in hand. He turned in shock as the bikers entered. "What the hell? Who are you?" Cole didn't answer. He just stepped forward, calm but dangerous. His men closed in behind him. "Touch her again," Cole said quietly. "And I swear you'll wish you hadn't." The man laughed, a cruel, drunken laugh. "What's this? The big hero act? You think I'm scared of a bunch of bikers?" Cole's fist moved faster than the man could react. One solid punch to the jaw sent him crashing to the floor. "Now you are," Cole said coldly. Emily was trembling in the corner, tears streaming down her face. Cole turned to her, his voice softening. "Pack your things. You're coming with us," she hesitated. "Where would I go?" "We'll figure it out," he said. "You're not staying here." That night, they brought her to a small safe house outside town, one of several places the Iron Serpents used when they needed to disappear. But it wasn't just for criminals. Over the years, Cole had quietly turned it into a refuge. For women escaping abuse, for kids with nowhere to go, for anyone the world had given up on. Emily stayed there for weeks, slowly finding her strength again. The bruises faded, but the scars inside took longer. She helped around the place, cooking meals, talking with the others. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Cole visited often, though he never stayed long. He'd sit outside with her, smoking quietly, watching the sunset. She'd tell him about her dreams, to study nursing, to leave the town that had trapped her. One evening she asked, "Why did you help me?" He thought for a long moment before answering. "Because someone should have helped my mom and no one did." From that day, something changed in both of them. Emily began rebuilding her life, piece by piece, while Cole found himself drawn towards something he'd lost long ago. Humanity. Word of what happened spread through the town. People who once crossed the street to avoid the Iron Serpents started whispering a different story. Maybe they weren't just outlaws. Maybe in their own way they were protectors. Months later, Emily enrolled in a nearby college. Cole helped her pay the tuition, anonymously of course. She never asked how. Years passed. The diner changed owners, the neon sign was replaced, and the Iron Serpents eventually disbanded as Cole grew older. But the legend of that night, the night a biker gang leader stood up for a bruised waitress, lived on. Some said he turned the gang into a charity, helping victims of domestic violence. Others claimed he rode off into the mountains and never returned. But those who truly knew the story said that Cole Maddox never stopped watching over the broken. That his gang, once feared, became a force for good. And as for Emily, and she graduated with honors, became a nurse, and eventually opened a small shelter for women in need. On the wall hung an old leather jacket, framed and faded with a patch that read Iron Serpents. No one who entered the shelter knew its full story. But every now and then a biker would stop by, leave a donation, and ride away without a word. They all knew why. Because once upon a time in a quiet diner on a lonely road, a man everyone feared had chosen compassion over violence. And that single choice, one moment of courage, changed everything. Even years later, Emily could still remember that night. The cold wind, the smell of gasoline, and the sound of engines fading into the distance. She would sometimes wonder what became of Cole. Did he ever find peace? Did he forgive himself for his past? She hoped he did, because he had given her a second chance at life, something no one else had done. And in the end, that was enough for all his scars and sins. Cole Maddox became the kind of man his younger self never thought possible. A protector. A savior in leather and steel. His story spread far beyond the town, told in whispers and online posts in coffee shops and biker bars. Some dismissed it as a myth. Others swore it was true, but truth or legend, it didn't matter. The message remained the same. Compassion doesn't always come from saints. Sometimes it comes from sinners trying to make things right. And in a world that often looks away, one man had chosen to see.